Hello again, neighbor. Thank you for joining us today. We are looking at Hebrews chapter number 11, verses 8 through 19, and we are looking at the subject of I will obey. In verse number 8, we read this: By faith Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed and went out, not knowing whither he went. And we are focusing in on that subject of obedience, and we are looking at I will obey. Now, as I said yesterday, obedience is something that is lost in this day. In my opinion, one of the most disturbing teachings that faces our society today is something that is known as situation ethics. The idea of obedience flies in the face of situation ethics, friend, because this teaching places the importance on what the individual thinks to be the best course of action to them, with little regard given for the welfare of others. Rather, we now are teaching children to consider themselves, and we exalt, if you will, the importance of the individual almost to the point of the exclusion of everyone else in society. And I think today we are seeing some of the results of that teaching spread across our nation. Now, our children have been taught that they need to be tolerant, not the positive and the patient aspect of being respectful to someone with whom you may disagree. We see that it's unhealthy. It's an unhealthy teaching that they are being taught with this situation ethics. Has there ever been a time when we've seen this practice in Scripture? And the answer to that question is absolutely there has been. In Judges 21, verse 25, we read these words: In those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. And so, that was a time we could say of situation ethics as well. Everybody's doing what's right in their own eyes. Well, the church has no room for disobedience, dear friend. We have a poor record, though, when it comes to obedience in the church. There's really no public praise for obedience. When was the last time that we told someone, and you told a fellow believer, I really appreciate your obedience to the Lord? And that's ought to be something that we do, and that we really do appreciate. I hope you'll tell that pastor, and you'll tell that Sunday school teacher, and tell that faithful Christian that you appreciate their obedience to the Lord. And I hope it's a challenge to you and I, that in our life we would be obedient as well. And know this: the Lord expects our obedience, dear friend. He desires our obedience. Now I want us to get to Abraham. Abraham was a man of faith, and here in Hebrews 11 we have what we call the Hall of Faith, dear friend, and Abraham is one of these individuals. He is listed here, if you will. I want to remind you of what James said about faith. He said, even so, faith, if it hath not works, is dead, being alone. And he makes the point again that faith will have its manifestation in good works. Now, if faith is not accompanied with good works as the results, then he tells us it's a dead faith. It's non-essential and non-existent, dear friend. What was the good works that were manifested in Abraham's life? It was obedience. I mean, what a great compliment that the Lord pays to Abraham when he simply said, Abraham obeyed. Now, what we know about Abraham's life is this: he wasn't perfect up to that point, nor was he perfect after that point, dear friend. But when the Lord called him to go, Abraham was in the right when he simply obeyed. Abraham took his will and he submitted it to the very will of God himself. And by doing so, he showed the world of his day, dear friend, that he was a man of faith in God. The writer of Hebrews says more about Abraham in chapter 11 than any other person. His life was marked, and I think we could say this: it was marked by exceptional faith. His faith was not merely that mental assent we talked about last week, but friend, it was accompanied with heroic faith, unquestionable obedience. Abraham was a man of obedient faith. You and I ought to want to be someone like that. I hope that you will be. Hope you'll think about these things today. Till the next time, may God bless you is my prayer.